Today on Judge Faith, the courtroom is flooded with accusations.
The pipe broke. It wasn't my pipe. It was a washing machine
it was your pipe,
from
and you're a
upstairs.
liar, and the words you breathe is the lies you tell. Yeah, that's not from no washing machine. Because if it was the washing machine, the whole thing would have came down with the washing machine.
You have come into court today, and I'm looking at photos of an entire ceiling in her unit. Don't interrupt me again.
And was there fraud and deception in this car sale?
I have children. I took money, food out of my kids' mouth to give you money for a car you knew didn't work.
April, you shouldn't be talking to me like that. You know me. You know who I am.
You know
so
who
you
I
can't
am
come
too.
here. You can't come here and tell me all that story.
I gave you $2,800 and you sold me a
Sir, are you a mechanic for a living?
Faith Jenkins. Her distinguished legal career began when she graduated first in her law school class. She quickly became a tough New York City prosecutor, and then a preeminent legal analyst on cable news. And now she's the judge in her own courtroom. Her cases are real, and her rulings are final. She is Judge Faith. Plaintiff Shawn Robinson is suing her former landlord for the return of her security deposit and for damages to her personal property. Defendant Sam Ranani says he owes nothing and the damages are not his responsibility. He is countersuing for unpaid rent.
Remain seated and come to order. Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Faith Jenkins presiding. Your Honor, we have Robinson versus Ranani.
Thank you, Barbara. Okay, Ms. Shawn Robinson?
Yes.
You are suing the defendant, Sam Ranani, for $4,826, the amount you said he owes you for your security deposit and property damage.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Ranani, you are countersuing for $6,437 for back rent
For
you
back
say
rent,
the plaintiff owes?
Yes.
Okay, so we will start with you, Ms. Robinson. When did you first start leasing a unit from the defendant?
It was in September of 2012.
Okay, and what kind of unit was it?
It was a very small, rat-infested, roach-infested
It wasn't not small.
apartment
It was a
that was
two-bedroom
very
apartment.
small.
Excuse me, sir. I can't hear her.
And also, Ranani got money from assistance from me to move in that apartment in May of 2012.
This is an apartment in New York.
Yes, the
correct?
Bronx of New York.
And how did you come to find this apartment?
Well, I found this apartment through a real estate broker who was also conniving. Him and Sam was in cahoots.
She came out of the shelter.
Yes,
She came out of the shelter.
I was
So what?
displaced.
So what did she came out of the shelter?
I was displaced, and I had to come up with $3,800 before he allowed me to get the keys to move into that apartment. When Section 8 was already giving them the money for me to move in, they was waiting for me to come up with extra monies that I really didn't have.
Ma'am, let me ask you a question. Did you sign a lease for this apartment?
Yes, not until I gave them $3,800.
Okay, you gave $3,800. How much was your monthly rent?
My rent was $1,413.
Okay, how much of that did Section 8 pay?
$112 and some change. They paid for me.
Did you pay a security deposit?
Yes.
How much did you give as a security deposit?
$1,413 for a security deposit.
Same as 1 month's rent?
$1,413 for 1 month's rent.
I was a nice guy giving her the apartment.
If you was a nice guy giving me anything, you wouldn't have me in court right now. You would have gave me my security deposit back, and also you would have gave me my money for my property damage when that pipe burst in that old infested building.
The pipe broke. It wasn't my pipe. It was a washing machine pipe.
Yeah, it was your pipe,
from
and you're a
upstairs
liar,
from
and
the
the
lady.
words you breathe is the lies you tell.
It was a washing machine pipe. It broke from the tenant upstairs.
So let's talk about the property damage, which is the first part of your lawsuit.
Yes, I have photos,
You
Your
said
Honor.
what month and year? You said a pipe burst.
That was in April of 2012.
Okay. What happened? Were you home?
No, I was not home.
Tell
My
me what
son
happened.
called me and told me that water was pouring from the ceiling. So I raced home, and when I got home, I saw about 1.5 inches of water from the front door all the way to my bedroom. There was water. Everything that was on the floor got damaged. The only thing I required for him to do at that point was replace my television I just bought.
Did you get a call from the plaintiff telling you that a pipe burst and she had water in her unit?
It wasn't. I got a call.
Okay.
My super went up there, and we checked it out. The tenant above wasn't home. She wasn't home. So at nighttime, when the tenant came home, the super went upstairs, and he saw it was leaking.
Excuse me, ma'am. Please don't interrupt.
From a washing machine, which belongs
Sam,
to
you
the
lying
tenant.
because you showed up while I was there.
Ma'am,
it doesn't belong
I need
to
to hear his version of,
yes,
of these
I'm
events,
sorry.
okay?
So what happened
I don't want to
was,
dismiss your case, but if you
I'm
keep
sorry.
talking.
So what happened was, my super checked it out, and she wouldn't let him in like 2 weeks after to fix it. But when he checked it,
Oh, my God.
he saw that it was leaking from the washing machine upstairs. He closed the washing machine, disconnected. He told the lady upstairs, don't use the washing machine, because you're causing a leak downstairs.
So you're saying that the water damage in her apartment was caused by a leak from a washing machine in the upstairs apartment?
Above her, in the kitchen,
Let me see the
There's no way,
let me see
Your
the photos
Honor.
of the
Here
damages,
are the
please.
photos. That water, I also had water leakage in my bathroom. Pipes were bursting all through that apartment.
Let's look
That's
at this
how
on the flat
corroded
screen.
it was. This is how the ceiling collapsed in the kitchen from water, supposedly
The
from a
leak came from the
washing
washing
machine.
machine.
That was a pipe burst, and
me
it was
see.
no
It
wasn't a pipe
water
burst,
upstairs.
it was a washing machine.
Because I went
Do you
upstairs,
have a
and
photo
you're
of the
lying,
ceiling?
Sam. Yeah, that's not from no washing
That's
machine.
from
Because if it
the
was
water-
a washing
the
machine,
water
the whole
damage,
thing would have came down with the washing
The
machine.
sheetrock, right? The sheetrock falls down because any little bit of water goes into the
Nah.
ceiling.
No, sir.
It falls down.
I'm looking at two photos here. That's of a ceiling.
Right.
And it's your testimony that a washing machine caused that kind of damage to the
Yes.
ceiling to her unit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Coming up on Judge Faith, the nightmare gets worse when it goes from falling ceilings to this.
It was infested with rodents, Your Honor, roaches and rats. I woke up, a
was
mouse
no
was in
roaches,
my
no
bed.
rodents.
I had to get a stray cat.
And later, some she said, he said with a broken down car.
You brought a car to the shop and I replaced a few parts.
You did not
and you know
replace.
that.
No, you
I
did not. No, you never replaced anything.
You drove the car for
You
about 3 months.
You never replaced anything on
was
that
it running?
vehicle.
Plaintiff Shawn Robinson is suing her former landlord for the return of her security deposit and damages. Defendant Sam Ranani says he owes nothing and the damages are not his responsibility.
So what did you do to repair this damage, sir?
The super, when we closed the water first in the washing machine.
Yeah,
Let's see
the
the
fire
next photo.
department had to come out and shut off the water because it was a main water line break.
It wasn't a water main.
It was,
It was
so.
a washing
You're
machine.
lying.
Did the fire
I
department respond?
didn't see no fire department. No fire department came.
Yeah.
So to your
Yeah,
knowledge, the
you
fire
ain't seen
department did
nothing.
not
You ain't
respond?
seen that big
No fire
hole
department.
either.
The super came upstairs and shut the washing machine off.
Okay. You say, ma'am, as a result of this leak, you had property
I had an
in your
inch-
unit that was damaged inside, not just the unit itself, but in your
My
apartment.
property got damaged
Okay, do you
because
have
of this
proof of
water.
those damages?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let me see the proof of the damages.
And according to the lease,
Yes.
the landlord is not responsible for any damage if it wasn't, he's not negligent.
I submitted the
Right,
document
which is why
for...
it would be in your best interest to come in here and have me to believe that that amount of water
I
came from a
submitted the
washing machine
document for
and
my
not from a
television.
plumbing
That's
problem
all.
It
or a
wasn't a
pipe
plumbing
problem
problem,
in
it's
the
a washing
building.
machine.
was the television
The washing
damaged.
machine didn't belong to me.
I'm looking at photos of an entire
photos
ceiling
don't
in
mean
her
anything,
unit.
so it's a damage.
Don't
So, okay,
interrupt
but-
me again.
okay.
You have come into court today and you have submitted to me no proof that that amount of water damage came from a washing machine in a unit above the plaintiff's unit. And
What
I
kind of
think
proof
your
do you want? I mean, I'm not
testimony
there with a
that that
bucket.
amount of water came from a washing machine defies credibility, sir. That's what I'm telling you.
Okay, but I'm saying differently.
The security deposit, which you told me you paid $1,413.
Yes,
you
ma'am.
said you did not get that when you moved
was a
out of
voucher.
this
Not
unit.
at all. And if I owed him...
What's the month and date that you moved out?
I moved out in February because I moved into a new apartment in February. I got my lease on February 1st, 2013.
Sir, why did you not return her security deposit in the amount of $1,413? Why did you
Because
keep that?
It wasn't a security, it was a voucher. Section 8 gives you a voucher. There was no money involved. It gives you a
Section
voucher
8
as
give you
security,
part
and
of
I have-
it. They
can
give
I
you
show it to
half of the rent.
Okay,
They give
do you have
half.
proof that you
yes,
paid?
I have proof. Here are my receipts.
Barbara, would you hand me that,
Didn't
please?
think I had them, huh? Pay.
Okay, and the plaintiff has handed me 2 money orders that total the amount of $1,413. Why did you not return the security deposit?
They gave us a voucher.
you're too busy
There was
trying
no
to
money
steal.
given to me. So I
Let's
know
go
this
to your
voucher is
counterclaim.
security.
You
Get
have
your
a
lies
counterclaim for $6,437 for back rent
What?
and the plaintiff's son living in the apartment.
With
Now,
his girlfriend.
Ms. Robinson, you told me you moved out of the unit February of 2013.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, what months are you saying that the plaintiff did not pay rent to you?
We didn't receive it for about 4 months.
Okay, and so your evidence is a statement that you and your company created to give to me, correct?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. In February of 2013, when you moved out of the unit, the defendant claims that your son remained in the unit for several months.
No, he did
Is
not.
that true?
No.
He did.
What
He
proof
never
do you
gave
have?
us the key.
Your Honor, he was
He didn't
busting
tell them the
down
key.
walls.
Did the plaintiff
before
return,
I moved out.
did the plaintiff
to
return
June.
keys to you, sir?
No, she never gave us the key.
So
He
is
is a
your
liar.
testimony the plaintiff never returned keys to you?
No.
Okay.
He never gave it to me or the
If
super.
I
what
owed
proof
you
do
money,
you have
why
of
you
that?
didn't take me to court? Why I have to bring you to court? If I owed you, you would have been took me to court a long time ago. Here it is almost 2 years later, and I'm taking you to court. That's because you owe.
Okay.
Your Honor, I am requesting an additional $1,413 because I had to turn around and move after I just moved in there, and for pain and suffering living with roaches and rats in my bed.
I have no roaches and I have no rats.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
What do you mean by that?
It was infested with rodents, Your Honor. Roaches and rats. I woke up, a mouse was in my bed. I had to get a stray cat. I had to get a stray cat to keep the mouse down.
Okay, here's my ruling in this case. On your counterclaim for the amount of $6,437, I'm dismissing it in its entirety because you came into court today and you brought me no evidence to show that the defendant owes back rent. You brought no evidence to show that her son continued to live in the unit when she moved out. You brought no evidence to show that she breached the lease, besides your own in-house created documents, which I am not going to rely on in this case. So on your counterclaim, sir, dismissed, you get 0. On your claim, ma'am, I find the defendant's testimony that that amount of water damage was caused by a washing machine to be completely incredible. I don't know, sir, if you think because you have Section 8 tenants and because they came from a shelter that you can just sort of say whatever you want to them and get away with it, but it's not going to work for me when you come into court. If you owe the money. So she has shown me sufficient proof that she paid a security deposit in the amount of $1,413. I'm going to order you to return her security deposit in that amount. I am also going to order you to pay damages based on the receipts that the plaintiff gave me in the amount of $500. So my judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,913. Pay the plaintiff.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Plaintiff April Wilcoxson is suing her former friend for the cost of a car and towing fees. Defendant George Pay says the car was fine when he sold it and the sale was as is.
Okay, Miss April Wilcoxson?
Yes, ma'am.
You are suing the defendant George Pay for $3,005 for the cost of a car and towing fees. You say he sold you a car and it turned out to be a lemon?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, why don't you tell me what happened? First, how do you know the defendant?
I know him from church. Your Honor, I'm here today because I'm a single mother of 2 kids, and I've been deceived by someone that I trusted and had integrity because I know him from church.
You were not deceived.
I was deceived. No. If you'll let me finish. So I told my aunt that I was looking for a vehicle. She let me know that Mr. Pay had something available at his shop. So I stopped by and had a look at a Volvo. It was a burgundy Volvo.
What year?
2001.
Okay.
It didn't look raggedy or anything like that, and I'm not a mechanic, so I asked him what was wrong with it. He said nothing. We negotiated a price. He said he started out at $3,000, but he said $2,800 would be good, and we agreed to that. So I visited his shop again to take a test drive for the vehicle. The radio wasn't working, so when I came back to the shop after the test drive...
But I told you the radio was not working, and I
replaced the radio. You didn't tell me that.
Did I replace the radio?
You did not tell me that.
Next on Judge Faith, from a broken radio to billowing smoke.
I had to swerve across traffic to pull off of the expressway and pull onto a main street, and that's where the car completely shut off. It started billowing white smoke. I mean, it was just, it just stopped completely.
Plaintiff April Wilcoxson says the defendant sold her a car he knew was a lemon, and she is suing for a refund. Defendant George Pay says the car was absolutely fine.
So after you test drove it, How much time passed before you went back to buy the car?
No more than a week.
Okay.
I gave him $1,800 in a check and $1,000 cash. He gave me the key and the bill of sale.
That's not true.
Okay,
Yes,
so
it is
you
true.
did sign
That's
a bill
not
of sale for the car?
Yes,
May I
ma'am.
see it, please?
How's that not true? What you mean that ain't true?
Did you bring a photo of the vehicle?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Let's pull that photo up on the flat screen, please. Before you purchased the car, did you take it to a mechanic, another mechanic, an independent mechanic, to have the car checked out?
No, I trusted him. Based off the fact that I know him from church, I thought he had integrity. I didn't have the time to take it to another mechanic.
So you just decided to pray on it?
Yeah, I prayed about it. It wasn't just about prayer. It was the fact that I'd known him for so long, and as well as where I knew him from.
So, in looking at the bill of sale, what did he tell you about the car when he sold it to you?
When I asked him what was wrong with it, he said nothing was wrong with it. So when I found out about the radio, I asked him, was he gonna fix that? He said yes. After I bought it, he fixed it.
What ended up happening with the car?
Well, about a week after I bought the car, it started cutting off on me. It would just, I would drive and it just cuts off, and then I had to re-crank it, it'll crank back up. So when I called him, he said, oh yeah, it's the fuel filter or the fuel pump. And I was like, well, why didn't you tell me that when I asked you?
No, that's not what
initially?
you say.
That's
not
what I
you say.
said.
You brought a car to the shop and I replaced the fuel pump.
You did not
and you
replace.
Know that.
No, you
I
did not. No, you never replaced anything.
You drove the car for about 3 months.
You never replaced anything
But
on that
was it
vehicle.
running?
No, it wasn't.
Sir, let
It
me
was
ask you
cut
a
off
question.
on me.
When was after you sold the plaintiff the car, when was the first time you heard from her that there was a problem with it?
The next week.
Okay, the following week.
Yeah.
And that's when you say she brought it in?
She brought it in for the radio.
And then the next time you heard from her was when?
A week later.
A week later?
Yeah.
Okay, and
yes,
what
ma'am.
happened? And did he do anything
No,
to fix
ma'am.
that?
How you know
No,
I didn't
ma'am.
do nothing?
What you mean, how do I know? I never saw
After
you
after the fuel pump issue, how long did you drive the car after that?
About a month and a half.
Okay, and then what happened?
Come May the 25th, I'm driving on a 5-lane expressway. The car starts sputtering. I had to swerve across traffic to pull off of the expressway and pull onto a main street, and that's where the car completely shut off. It started billowing white smoke. I mean, it was just, it just stopped completely.
And how long did you have the car then?
Exactly 2 months, because I bought it March, and it was May when it cut out.
And have you driven since then, since
No,
the incident
ma'am.
in May?
And now, Judge Faith rules.
Sir, you want to say something?
Well, she
He about
called
to
me.
lie. That's why he can't talk. He about to lie.
She called me, April, you shouldn't be talking to me like that. You know me. You know who I am.
You know
so
who
you
I
can't
am,
come
too.
here. You can't come
yes, I
here
can.
and tell me all
I
that
gave
story.
you $2,800 and you sold me
Sir, are you a
car.
mechanic for a
Yes,
living?
yes, ma'am.
Okay, and you also, do you sell cars on a regular basis?
Yeah.
Okay, and so I'm looking at the bill of sale here, and it says here the purchase price for the vehicle, $2,800, and you believe that the car is in good condition.
Yes, ma'am.
Here's the thing, whenever someone buys a used car, by law, it's an as-is sale.
Correct.
So that means buyer beware.
However,
so
Your
that
Honor,
means take it or leave it. But if you take it without taking it to a mechanic, you take your chances. And you already told me that you trusted him because he was a church member and that you've known him for all those years. Well, perhaps that's a lesson that you learned. Just because someone goes to your church doesn't mean that they, and I'm not saying that you did anything intentionally, but I'm just saying that it's not about trust. It's about you doing your due diligence when you buy a car.
I
what
did,
you have
and
to do,
I have
okay?
an estimate of such thing. I did take it to another mechanic.
But after you purchased it.
I'm not the only person. I didn't find that out until he did that to me, and it's not right. It's not
That's not
fair.
true.
I have children. I
That's not
took
true.
money, food out of my kids' mouth to give you money for a car you knew didn't work.
Ma'am, the responsibility is on the buyer to have the car checked out before you purchase it. So my judgment in this case is for the defendant.
Thank you.
If you or someone you know has a dispute, don't take the law into your own hands. Let Judge Faith rule on it for you. To submit your case, go to judgefaith.com and tell us your story. See you in court.